Well, time for today's international press review, and for that I'm joined once again by Florence Villeneuve. Hello, Flo.
Hello again.
Unsurprisingly, the French presidential election dominating international press headlines.
Yes, we're going to start by looking at the Wall Street Journal, which has it on its front page. So campaigning stops tonight, and according to the Wall Street Journal, Sarkozy is awaiting the finger of fate. And there's a picture of Sarkozy and Hollande, and says, according to the Wall Street Journal, the gap is narrowing between the two. But there's a different story on the International Herald Tribune, which says that polls show that President Sarkozy is in deep trouble. And there you see this very striking photo of a very dark-looking Nicolas Sarkozy. And there's an interesting article in the International Herald Tribune, which was also in the New York Times by Stephen Erlanger, that points out that though Sarkozy is very confident and thinks that he can win both the first and second round, aides around him are starting to doubt this. And the article says that Sarkozy could very well be the first president since 1981, could be the very first one-term president. And it points out that if he is defeated, the implications would radiate well beyond Paris, because Sarkozy has built very valuable relationships with Angela Merkel in Germany on European and Eurozone issues, with Britain on defense issues, and with Barack Obama on issues concerning Iran, NATO, and Russia. And if Sarkozy loses, then all these relationships will change, because Hollande has a very different program concerning the Europe or even Afghanistan. The article also points out that Sarkozy now is facing a very tactical challenge for the election. Basically, if he makes it into the second round, he'll have this electoral dilemma, which is, will he continue to run to the right and try to attract perhaps far-right voters, or will he try to move towards the center and attract center voters? And these are two very different constituencies, points out the article, and so it's going to be a difficult balancing act for Sarkozy. But the article points out that it's not over till it's over, and Sarkozy could turn things around.
Well, it's certainly a big weekend for him. Turning to another big international story, and the conflict between South Sudan and Sudan. What's the paper saying about that?
We're going to look at a paper in the Daily Nation, which which is the journal in Kenya, which says that a war in Sudan would be too costly for everyone. So President Omar al-Bashir virtually declared war on South Sudan. Now, according to this article, a renewed war would have major consequences on the economies of both the countries, but also on the wider region in general, the stability of the region. And this article calls for a concerted effort by the African Union and the UN, and says that what needs to be resolved is not only the border dispute, but how to share oil revenue between the two countries.
Well, moving on to just as serious a story, but with a scandalous overtone. These 11 US Secret Service agents under investigation for alleged misconduct with prostitutes in Colombia.
Yes. Now, several of them have been forced out of the agency, either forced to retire. Some of them have just quit, and several of their identities have been revealed. And now there's a very critical article in the Washington Post that isn't so much critical of the moral dilemma they're in as to who these agents are. And it says that Secret Service agents are supposed to handle, not cause trouble. According to this article in the Washington Post, they're recruited for their street smarts, and it turns out some of them don't have money. Now, according to this article, it calls it sex-scapades, and it says they could have been covered up, but instead the story just completely got out of hand. Basically, they got out of control in their own situation that they created. And they quote Harry Reid, who's the Senate Majority Leader, who says that the employees under investigation were stupid, but there's no bill we can pass to cause people to have common sense. Now, there's also an interesting article in the Christian Science Monitor, which comes back on the fact that basically the issue of prostitution has only been in the law since 2006, so it's a very new issue. And it points out that also this episode is raising new questions about sex trafficking and forced prostitution.
No doubt questions from wives and girlfriends at home, Flo.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Flo Villeneuve, for that international press review.